Welcome to God's Way YTVY. I'm Adolphina Shephard. This is my co-host Thomas Knight's Templar.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our show.
We have a very good show tonight that we're going to be doing a round table for you and a couple of fabulous guests that we've had on before. I'm going to introduce Rich Braconi and let him tell a little bit about himself, and then we'll go to Jennifer, and then we'll start.
Awesome.
All right, so what do you want to talk about? Tell a little bit about yourself.
Gee, tell us something we don't know, Rich.
Just a little bit about myself, right?
Yeah,
And then
for
just go on from
starters,
there.
yeah.
So I am a self-taught international spirit medium and medical intuitive. For the past 12 years, I've had a spiritual service that I've been offering in New Jersey and Philadelphia. Organically, it's grown to me doing 3 public events a week now. Most of them sell out. I wrote a book called Being More of God, which is an explanation about how I learned to quiet my thinking and shift to a more spiritually centered life. And now I'm writing my second book, and I'm going to focus on how everybody's human existence, there's a spiritual part and a physical part to that human creation, and the differences between them and how to get them to work in harmony together.
Oh, that sounds real interesting. We have to explore that further.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Jennifer, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I wish I went first. I have to follow that. But I am a psychic medium and a Reiki master and a hypnotist and a bunch of things.
And your name?
Jen Morales, but I'm Zen Jen.
That's Jen. Jenny from the block.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell her where you're located up there.
I have an office in White Plains, New York,
Okay.
and we have a beautiful Himalayan salt room. So I do a lot of work in the salt room.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's been an amazing journey, and thank you for having me again.
All the time. All the time. Okay. Shall we start this topic off somewhere?
Yeah. Well, I know Rich always has fabulous stories, so let's start with Rich, and we'll do our round table, and we have other things we'll want to chime in on. And so, there you go, Rich.
Thank you.
What do you got to tell us this time? You always have such great stories.
You know, it's really incredible, too. When you do live events for people and you just watch what I consider to be like personal miracles that happen in our lives. And it's all about learning to quiet your thinking and focusing more on a coexistence between your spirit and a higher power, right? And it's the coolest thing because you focus more on knowledge that you're inspired with. And that's what I demonstrate at my events. It's knowledge that's not first stored in my head. It actually comes from a source outside of your physical body. And you get inspired and you watch it accurately be helpful to people, but healing too.
Yeah.
So in a recent event of mine, there was a lady, it was like a group of like 30 or 40, actually it was like 50 people. And I pointed to her and I could see the image of a man standing behind her, and he told me that he was her father. And he shared the name of John with me. So I said, your father's standing behind you, and he's saying his name is John. And she says, Rich, that doesn't make any sense to me. My father's still alive. So, you go back and you have these moments where you're challenged to stay faithful to what you're seeing, right? And so these are one of the moments where you're going, okay, you're challenged to stay faithful. Now, a lot of people would just dismiss it and go, oh, I wish I was off. But I go back and talk to the guy. And he says, oh, no, I'm her father, and my name is John, and I've passed. So this goes back and forth, and she keeps on saying, no, 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 that's not true. And so I said, I understand what you're saying. I said, just hold on to it. Well, it had such an impact on her that when she went home, she did a DNA test. And so when she did the DNA test, she waited a couple of weeks and it came back, and it showed a positive indication that she has a biological father that she was never told. So she does a second DNA test because she's saying there's no way in the world somebody didn't told me that she was probably like in her 40s. And so she does a second one, it comes back positive. And the father, the biological father that she never had or she wasn't told, guess what his name was?
Oh, wow.
It was John.
Imagine the shock, her shock.
Her biological father was telling her something that the family lied to her about and said, no, I exist. Well, since that, she went and contacted the family, and now she's getting to know her stepbrothers and her stepsisters,
she's-
and she says it's the greatest time to learn about someone for the very first time, and she said, I can't thank you
Because
enough
it brought
for
central
making that
peace.
happen.
It brought
Wow.
central peace to her.
100%.
I was going to say something for both of you. Is that both of them have been on the show before. When I see the growth, right? And I see it with you too. I see it with you because when you first came on the show, it was like you were finding yourself.
Sure.
You're doing some medical medium stuff, right?
Sure.
But you were finding yourself. Then the second time, you were honing it.
Correct.
And now you got it to a point where you're doing like a John Edwards type of thing,
Correct.
which is great.
Correct.
But the difference is you have a good bedside manner,
Thank you.
okay?
Yeah,
The
thank
guy, I used to watch the guy, okay, boom, he's over here. I hate that.
Yes.
I hate that because you spend no time and you give no peace to the person you're talking to.
Correct.
You give them that peace. As for you, Jennifer, I see that too. Since the time that, you were first on the show, all right? Your practice was limited, what you were doing, and now it's grown exponentially, all right? And, I mean, you tell me how that's all come about, trial and error.
Yeah, it's a lot of just really trusting yourself and your intuition and having the confidence. In the beginning, you hear and feel all these things and you're not sure of yourself yet, And
It's like
so
me
I
having
had
training wheels off, but you kicked them off now.
Yeah, so you have to just say it, and once I just got in the habit of just saying it, and it was always right, then you build the confidence.
Yes, because then what happens is, like what happened with Richie too, is that what you said to the woman resonated in her, that it kind of lit a curiosity torch in her to find out more. He can't be. My father's alive.
Correct.
Or he died when he heard the news, and that was the end of it.
Correct.
So by you doing that, lit a flame in her, and now not only did you bring a family together, her biological family, but you united them spiritually.
Correct.
Because it took a spirit to bring this all about.
Correct.
You're going to find out, I'm sure you found that too with different people. You talk to them and they say, oh no, this is not like that, and 6 months later you come back and go, you remember you told me such and such and this, that, the other? And then, boom, there you go. So, listen, I only tell you what they tell me. That happened with us yesterday. I was telling you what they told me about you. What the heck is that? What they were telling you about
The chi clutch, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, though, there's a few interesting points I wanted to. First, you talked about the bedside manner with Rich. I can't, you're so lovable and sweet. I can't even imagine you being
She
a
just
cop.
likes him.
You
Don't
know
go,
what I mean? He
don't
used to
go
be
with
a
this.
cop,
Listen,
you
he's
know?
cute.
How
He's
did he
cuddly.
do that? You know what I
He's sitting
mean?
next to you.
Did you transform to make that happen, or were you always like this?
No, I think that, I started off with, I had a love for doing, I guess, police work, but didn't understand why. And I watched my career grow very quickly. That wasn't normal. But I think it was because I had a natural love for something. And this is what I'm writing my second book about, right? If you look at love as a universal guidance or a universal voice that was equally designed in all people, and like what you were saying, Jen, like if you surrender yourself to what you have a natural love for and show faith in it, maybe that guidance that's pointing you to certain people, certain professions, maybe that's got a predestined guidance
Absolutely.
that it's going to work out for you.
That's right.
And maybe when we think too much, when we use our brain and we go like, yes, but I want to do life by myself, here's where I think is a better job, and maybe that's where we go wrong. Maybe there's a co-partnership or a co-ownership or a coexistence that our spirit has with a higher power and uses love as a guidance to point everybody in the right direction. Because I find that that's what we do the most, right?
Yeah.
The people that we have a natural love for, the professions we have a natural love for, locations,
Places
where we're living
wanna
at, our
be, places
hobbies.
You see yourself suited there.
even our natural interests, what we naturally have an interest in or we're naturally curious about, maybe that's all part of this voice that we're supposed to listen to. That's universal to all
Absolutely.
people.
I always call that following the yellow brick road, you know, because, you know, people often had said to me, you know, like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be happy, you know, but I never dreamed I'd write books, I'd lecture. I mean, my God, when I was a kid, I'd play hooky before I would get up in front of school and talk, and here I am talking on
She's
TV.
only pretending now
Yeah.
to be smart. You see that?
And you know, and then get up in front of an audience and speak. You know what I mean? And it's all following the yellow brick road. You know what I mean? And because I listened.
Correct.
I
That's
followed
right.
the intuition, you know. And, you know, something else you said that caught my attention about being challenged.
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of tests in a way, because at least I know I'm tested regularly until you learn to be sure of yourself. And usually you'll find the way I'm usually tested is people I love and trust that are psychic mediums and so forth. They tell me something that my heart says isn't true. You know what I mean? And that's my test, where I find it, where I have to stand firm in my own beliefs, you know, and this
in
has
your
happened
own-
all my
it's the way-
life.
It's the way you discern it. I was going to just say something. Florence Scovel Shinn is an author who was very instrumental in me opening up and going to where I had to go. She said, all right, never, ever walk away from a hunch. Okay? If you walk away from a hunch, then the thing that was supposed to happen for you good doesn't happen.
Correct.
All right? So when you were, I don't want to say growing up, but you kind of like grew up in this spiritual line, okay? And I seen the development go from where it was to now,
Correct.
all right? You're on a much higher plane, and your connection is a lot stronger and a lot better. And not only that, it's more pronounced. I mean, you walk in a light and a grace, so to speak. You know, I mean, you can see it. I can see it,
Thank you.
you know? As for you, Jen, you walk in a grace too. She is, don't let this shy demeanor fool you, okay? She is quite established in what it is that she does, and she counsels people. I know we all do that counseling part. It's the best is when you give people the tools, and I know you have done that in the past, and you wind up getting what I call psychic junkies, where they have, especially if they know you or they met you or whatever it is, and they're constantly texting you or typing on the computer and asking you a million questions. They're sucking the life out of you, okay? Because they think that you're your friend. They don't realize that you have, you know, to do what you got to do. This is your livelihood. It's not mine, but it is your livelihoods. You know what I mean? And you have a right, you know, to have X amount for what it is you do.
Yeah, I have a fellow psychic friend who's always telling me, stop being friends with these people. Because
but he's
that's what
right.
I know, is that's what
He's
happens.
right.
I become friends, and then, like you said, they just think it's a friendship instead of
That's what happens. You know, and it's always good to help your fellow man. I always say that. You know, help your fellow man, be of service to your fellow man. But this is something like, I have a vocation, and I don't rely on this for that. But I do help people all the time. I get calls, I get texts in the middle of the night. Things go wrong, there's a bump in the night, there's somebody afraid of something in their room, you know? And they call Tom to get rid of the boogeyman, you know? So, I mean, how many times have you had it, sis? Where people call you in the middle of the night,
Oh, yeah.
you know, really?
You know, they have a problem or whatever, yeah.
You know?
But, you know, there's just so much behind all this. But there was something else I wanted to mention. Now, you think that the answers come from outside you. Do you think that's the Akashic Records? Or is that your angels or what?
I think that you can give it whatever name you want, but it all comes from an original source.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yes.
God.
Yes.
Well, you know, you talked
The
about love,
Akashic
right?
Records, you were
Well,
just saying, the Akashic Records, Casey, Neville Goddard, who else? Rudolf Steiner, Florence Scovel Shinn is another one. The guy who wrote something that's like Conscious Mind. These things are books were written, and some of them were written in the early 1900s.
Right.
But they're so dead on.
yeah,
You know, when I read it, I said, and this is the stuff that's being as
revealed
as
now.
new.
Yeah.
It's not new.
Right, it's not new, it's ancient.
It's
Look,
ancient
what's that
knowledge.
other one, Nostradamus? Look how far back that was. I mean, that was the Middle Ages, I think.
Yeah.
But, yeah, but you know what? One of the things that caught my ear when you were talking about that was the, you know, Greg Braden.
Greg Braden.
He wrote a book called The God Code, and in that, you know, he's a scientist, and he broke it down to, he took the elements and he put them with the Hebrew alphabet, because Hebrew and, what is it, the Aramaic, or the
Aramaic.
Aramaic, or the sacred languages.
What was that called?
Shut up. So, anyway, so what he did then was he determined, and it actually said a sentence, God within the body of our very cells, of our very cells.
This
So,
is what we were talking about in the kitchen. Eric Braden, okay, was doing a thing, and there's a book, I had wrote this, I gotta see if I got it right. No, I can't get it.
I think it's the God Code,
No,
Tommy.
it's not in the, this is from the Hebrew Torah.
Okay.
A very, very, very seldom book that's ever used, because it's very difficult for even them to explain. Okay, because it goes into a point where when you break down the letters and the numbers that are coincided, it comes out to the DNA, all right, is God. And that's within us all. And I have said that repeatedly on this show. It's the God sense within. You are God. All right? In the Bible, Jesus says to his disciples, haven't I said that you are God? And far greater things that I have done, you shall do. Why is this never harped on or taught in all the mainstream religions? Why? Because it would take their hold on your life and on the money train, okay, and take it out of their hands and put it into yours. That's why they don't want you to know that.
And the
It's
religion is
always-
control too.
It's always control.
Yeah, it's
And
control and
now
money.
we'll talk about that other thing.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
The heads of, I'd like to call them the heads of the five family, but of the five major religions.
Right.
Which is the same thing.
Pretty much.
Thank you. She's lovely and she speaks. Okay. Anyway, they're getting together to go to the holy mountain in the desert that Moses went up on to receive the 10 Commandments. And they want to come down with their own 10 Commandments. You know? And what is that going to be? It's collusionary. Why? They want one world order, one world religion. Okay? That's what they want. If you cannot see the push for one world order, okay, you're going to watch financial collapse in this country, okay, because the money, they keep on printing out like toilet paper. It's not based on gold. In 1971, it changed to this paper system. The Treasury guarantees it. Well, guess what? Treasury's broke. And the money you're carrying around you think you have is usually, it's just worthless. Because when that crash comes, and it is coming, all right, you better hope you have some gold laying around, because you're not going to go nowhere.
Well, you know, we were talking about this earlier, and you know, the name of this TV show is God's Way, YTVY, YTVY, and that is the 23rd missing letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And then the story goes that when Moses did the 10 Commandments with the fire letters from
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
right? And he came down the
finger of
mountain,
God.
and they were doing the golden calf
They
and
were doing
everything.
a debauchery.
Yeah, and then literally the ground split open and took a lot of the disbelievers away. They fell into the pit, so to speak. And that was the letter, I believe, of the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit left and never came back. And then one day I was given that symbol, and that was when the world could become whole. Now, incidentally, this is happening, and they're going to create a new 10 Commandments. I mean, I wonder what they're going to say, you know?
Yeah.
This is crazy. I mean, are we going to get God? Is God going to do the fire letters on other rocks that, or are they going to just write something up to what they want to control?
They're going to make up their own trash, okay? And you remember when that ground opened up and swallowed them?
Yes.
I hope it gets them before they get on the mountain.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I think it's supposed to be this Sunday.
Well, listen, there are a lot of shenanigans going on. The Bible does state when good is bad and bad is good, then you know you're in the end times. And right now, bad is good, okay? We have inept leadership. We are the weakest point in our history. We are financially broke. And this guy, oh, just throw another couple $1 trillion at it. Who's going to pay for that? All you millennials out there that think that college is paid for free. Your school doesn't pay for it. It's going to be you, because we'll be dead. But it's going to be you paying for it, all right? And no matter how much they tax you to death, it ain't going to be enough. You know, you get paid, they tax you on that, all right? You come home with your paycheck, you put it into the bank, and you get taxed on that at the end of the year. You're getting taxed on everything 10 times. That's all the same thing. You know, don't you see the push towards a one world government? You better wake up and smell the coffee out there. Stop watching that boob tube that's run by the same media corporation, one for all, okay? And they just spew their lies depending on what side of the aisle they come from. You know, there was a time when they used to work together. There was a time when we had maybe more than 2 parties. All right? Maybe it's time that we start to do that. Get these 2 main parties together. They don't represent you. They don't represent the groups. They could care less. They use you as numbers. You're nothing but sheep to them.
Oh, no, we're collateral.
We're sheep, is what we are.
Not
You know,
us.
they take certain groups.
Not us.
No, not us, but, you know,
But
you need to start to wake up. You need to start the ascension process right now. All right? You need to join the winning team. Because you're going to stay with them. Guess what? You ever watched 1984? You're going to be one of them.
I don't think I saw that movie.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
I haven't.
I don't know if I want to either from the sounds of
Didn't
it.
see 1984. George Orwell.
I don't
Big
think I
Brother
saw
is
it.
watching you. There's a zillion cameras.
That's
I wouldn't be
true.
surprised they're in the bathroom too.
They probably are.
You know, to go off of what you were saying, I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and I gave him a question. And I said, please answer this question for me. And I said, in your opinion, what religion is God? And he paused, and he didn't know what to say. And I said, let me ask you this. I said, at the very same time, if you're not answering me, can God be in all religions? And he paused again, and he goes, how? And I said, it's love. I said, everything is based on a influence, a guidance that spiritually speaks to us, not physically,
No,
spiritually speaks to us that's based on love.
love.
And if you just stop pretending that you're not a spiritual being, if you stop pretending you're not a spiritual being, that all things, like you were saying, Jen, things resonated with you, you sensed, I knew. That's not, you didn't say I think. You said I spiritually sensed, I spiritually knew, things spiritually resonated with me. And you watch this common verbiage that people have when you're talking about the spiritual side. What if all people, right, just stop pretending you were not a spiritual being and said, all our choices are going to be based on what we sense or resonate with is the loving thing to do. Not based on money, not based on power, just the loving thing.
You know why this is?
Would we all have one voice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know why this is?
It would bring unity in all people if you
gonna-
stop pretending you're not
That's
spiritual.
right,
Yeah.
because people
Right.
don't realize that we are not humans having a spiritual experience. We are spirit having a human
You
experience.
took the words out of my
Okay.
mouth.
Yeah.
Did you see the hand up my shirt? She was making me talk. Anyway, that is a fact. And people cannot grasp, especially those of intelligentsia, who are the enemy of this country, all right? They're so smart, they think they're above you, okay? Those people there cannot fathom that simple solution is love.
Yeah.
They cannot fathom that because it can't possibly be so easy. It is. It's like having a cheat sheet to know how your life goes. If you don't know how to love yourself, you don't know how to love anyone else. Learn to love yourself and appreciate who you are, a child of God.
It's
All
true.
right? He
Yeah.
dwells within you. You don't need to be in some ornate shrine or whatever it is. God dwells wherever you are because you walk in his presence. You are him. You're his representative. Learn it, know it, believe it.
Well, you know, the Holy Trinity basically is infinite intelligence of the vibration of love and light.
That's right.
So, I mean, it's so true what you're saying about that, because if you're resonating and you become one with the Godhead or with the God force, you're going to come from that anyway. And that, you know, people have to kind of grow into that. That's, I think, children don't. Of course, they already know it, right? And then,
Until they're dumbed down by the educational system that's designed to do just that.
well, you know, people learn fear. You know, that's the biggest problem, and the choice is fear or love.
Well,
Really,
you know what fear is, right?
false evidence appearing real.
Well, yes, but fear is also inverted faith. If you take fear and you flip it over, it's faith. And if you have faith, there's nothing to fear.
Yeah, I always say that if you walk with Jesus, there's no fear.
There's no fear.
There's no fear at all.
There's
I
no
always
fear.
tell my clients that, you know.
What did Jesus say to, who was it? I think it was Peter when they were on the boat and he fell asleep and the boat was about to flounder.
Ye of little faith.
Ye of little faith.
Ye of little faith.
Okay? And he calmed the waters. All right? Each and every one of you have the ability to do that, but you have no self-belief that you are God. All right? You've been dumbed down over the years by the divisionary religions. They put divisions between them. Okay? If you're supposed to be a religion that loves everyone, then why do you pick and choose sides? God didn't create divisions, man did.
Yeah.
Mankind did, created divisions. Somebody said to me, goes, well, Tom, if that's the case, then why did God pick the Jews? What do you mean, why did he pick the Jews? He put his son in there because these were the people on earth that were the most godlike at that particular time. You know, they weren't going after sacred cows and they weren't, building monuments to the sky for worshiping some sun god. God was the sun. God is the central sun. That's within you. All right?
You know, we got to think about this. I mean, maybe it will actually have a positive result if people come together with the religions. But then that's a monopoly, so I don't know. So we're going to have to watch.
Listen, you're not going to get, there's several of the 5 religions that are intent on being one religion for everybody. All right? And I can't see that their leader of that particular group, all right, is going to go along with this. Because those people there, you say one word against their religion, they'll come and cut your throat.
That's true, yeah.
All right, so I can't see this possibly being able to happen.
I don't know.
All right, and if it does, it is definitely demonically led. No doubt about it. All right? You want to call them demons. What they are the fallen angels. The original fallen angels, they came down here and fornicated with earth women, okay, and created a race of giants. Read the book of Enoch. Learn your history. Read the book of Enoch.
By whom? There's a whole bunch of different books of Enoch. By whom? Do you know?
Well, it's the one I read. It cost me a lot of money, the book, too. It was $75.
Is that the Keys of Enoch?
Keys of Enoch.
The
yeah.
big, thick white
big,
book?
thick white book, yeah. All right? If you don't want to read, if you're not a person who's a reader, go on YouTube and put in the book of Enoch and listen to it.
I just channel whatever I want to know.
What that-
Because I don't like to read, so I'm just like,
So
whatever it is, I just
I
channel
love
it.
to read, but my eyes have been, well, they hop all over the page. So I listen to audiobooks, or I go on YouTube and I listen to the book being read by somebody else, all right?
Right.
And I grasp more of it when I do that,
Yeah.
you know? Things
I will.
resonate more with you when you do that. Somebody else is reading it. I mean, the first time I read the book by, I was talking about Florence Scovel Shinn before, I heard it, this is how I knew that I was on the path, because I heard it in a woman's voice. Now, when you read a book, you ever hear it in a woman's voice or you hear it in your own?
When I read a book,
Yeah.
I haven't read a book in books. I can't
He
talk
writes
about
them, but he
that.
don't read them.
That's true.
That's okay, all right.
I haven't read a book in years.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, you know what's
Not
cool?
even a Mad magazine?
No, that's going back, yeah, when I was young. You know, in the past 12 years of me doing this, so that's how long I've been doing this, for 12 years now. I always looked at it like if God really existed, right? And I studied my own human creation and gave God credit for creating me in a certain way. To me, I'm becoming a student of God, right? So you learn about your human creation, and maybe there's a level of wisdom waiting for all people. All you have to do is be open to what's true about your own human creation. I notice that when I allow my brain, my physical side, to think on its own, I feel alone. I also notice that I make decisions based on trying to control the outcomes
Yes.
of future situations. Control people, I try to control situations, I try to control my life. Fear, I notice I get fearful of future situations that my brain says I can't control to make work out in the way that you want. I have a fear of that. It could be people, it could be not getting a job, it could be talking in front of people. I can't control the future.
I don't have that.
My brain then says I have a fear of that. The opposite spiritually, right? And very often your brain to control life so that it can get what it wants in its way that it wants, it'll be unloving. It'll guide you to do unloving things, to cause pain in people's life, to not speak the truth. It guides you to do unloving things if you listen to it. Then the opposite side, your spirit. It's not about control, it's about surrender. It's the opposite. You surrender to a power of love. You give up trying to control your life. You give up sole ownership over your life, and you say, you know what, if God exists and there's a spiritual side, maybe all I had to do is give up control. Maybe that voice is guiding me that my life can work out if I do it in harmony. That's what you were saying with channeling. You're going, I don't read a book. I go to the source. Why go to someone who's writing a book who might not be speaking the truth? Let me just go right to the source. Now, that's empowering to me and to all people, knowing that there's a part of our human creation that has that ability to go right to the source.
That's
Yeah.
what Edgar
Why would you
Cayce-
go anyplace else?
Edgar Cayce would go to the Akashic Records.
And when you go and you show faith in that, like you're doing, you're watching moments that get created for you where you're being helpful to people. And you'll say, tell me if this is true, I don't do it by myself. It's not something I do alone. Do you feel like you're
Right.
being inspired all the time?
Yes.
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 That's the unity.
Yeah.
And that's what love is based on. The goal of love is always unity.
Yeah, because
It's
my
always
clients
unity.
are always, thank you, and I'm like, it was your dad or your
Yeah.
spirit guides or
Correct.
your angels that were telling me all of this. Make sure you thank them also.
Correct. So that's a loving communication that you're establishing, which is unity. It's the coolest thing when you understand it. Your world will shift. When you just study your own human creation, there's a wisdom in there that people are looking for outside of you when it's right inside of you.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. They don't see the carrot in front of their face.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
they don't, you know how many times, and this happens all the times, and I know it happens with me, I know it happens with you for sure, and probably with both of you. You give the people, you arm them with the tools they need to learn to help themselves.
Correct.
But yet, bling, bling, this is like every day.
Well, what I do is,
What, that's what I tell them, I said, what are you supposed to do? What do they tell you?
I
They
call
don't
it
use
my
their tools.
my
No,
spiritual.
they want you to do it for them.
I know. What are you saying, Jennifer?
At the end of every session, I write things down. So I tell them, don't worry about remembering what I'm saying. Just focus on the moment. I will write everything down for you, whatever's important. So at the end, I tell them, this is your spiritual prescription, and these are the things that I need you to do and for yourself going forward. I'm, arming you with the tools to help yourself to go forward. Now it's up to you. If you can't do it, then you'll be back here, next week, next month, or whatever. But these are the tools.
Retaining clients, are you?
Yeah, I'm like, but my goal is to heal them entirely and give them this is your spiritual prescription, and this is what, this
is
will
what you
help
need
you
to
going
do.
That's
forward.
really a great idea. I used to do
Yeah.
that when I did the aura photography as my hobby. I would write down, I'd see in their aura what was going on. I'd tell them, okay, you need grid repair, you need this or that, this is what you do.
Right.
And I'd write it all down for them. And they were blown away because now they could see it on black and white. Well, in
Yes.
color, really, but
Yeah.
you get the gist of it. And so, yeah, I agree with that. I like that idea, spiritual prescription. I like that.
Well, that's exactly what that is you're giving them the tools. That's your prescription. Do this, do this, do this, right? Don't do this, don't fall into the same old habits. You know, I love it when as particularly women do this to me all the time. They say to me, goes, you know, why do I keep on meeting the same kind of men? Oh boy, I want to bitch. I want to give them one.
Same
all right?
demon, different
Anyways, I
person.
turned around and said, why do you shop in the same store? I said, you're not going to find Mr. Goodbar in a bar.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Ask God to give you the person divinely chosen for you. And he will put that person in your path. You're going to chase after love, it's going to evade you. Because anything that you want badly and you chase after it will evade you. Okay? Know that God's in charge. Sit back and reap his rewards for you. See yourself have that, okay? And you will manifest it. It will happen for you. All right? Stop making the same stupid mistakes over and over and over. And then they say this, I know, Tom, you're right. Well, I told you this 200 times. When is it going to be right for the last time?
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, you know, another point is those people haven't done the healing work, so they're attracting that. They haven't healed their traumas or their wounds and things like that, and so you're attracting that to you because you haven't done your
magnetizing
homework.
it. You're
Yeah,
magnetized
you
to
haven't
it.
done your homework, you know, and that's part of it. But you know, it's interesting you were talking about the surrender because I went through a giant initiation some years ago, and I kept hearing that. Do you surrender? Do you surrender? Do you surrender? And I mean, you know, it takes me now to understand what they were trying to do.
Correct.
Some people
It's
move
not
slower.
surrender yourself to people, it's surrendering yourself
To
to the
God.
spiritual
Right.
love that was divinely created and designed in all people. 100%.
That's it. That's your DNA. That's your God sense. That's your DNA is love. You come from love.
Correct.
Yeah.
God didn't create some misfit.
Correct.
He created the being of love.
Correct.
It's up to you because he gave us free will to be on any side of the coin you want to be.
Correct.
You know, but really, if you learn to love yourself, and that's your God self, learn who you are. When you look in the mirror in the morning, you say, I am magnificent, I am wonderful, I am so handsome, I'm so good looking, I'm so good to people. People love me, I am love. You say these things on a regular basis. Man, I tell you, it changes who you are. If you're going to go out, you could set the tone for your day. I set my tone for the day. I get up in the morning, I know I have X amount of things I have to do. I said, let me be on this path, let me do this, let me make X amount, whatever I got to do. And everything falls into place as I want it. And you have that ability to do that. Why would you go through the same doldrums? Get up in the morning, have your coffee, get angry that you have to go out and wait in the freezing cold to get an express bus. Then you get into the city and it's a cavern, as the winds are blowing, you're freezing to death, and you go and do this like a lab rat every single day, back and forth and back and forth, hours on end. Okay? You can set your tone for the day that those things won't bother you. You know, we are the creator. You want to tell them? Who's the creator?
We are.
We are.
Well, God helps.
By your word,
Greatly.
by your word, because you are God.
Yeah.
By your word, you create. Okay? And by your word, you are condemned. Keep on saying those stupid things that most people say and claim stupidity. I am this, I am that, oh, I'm never going to meet the right person. Well, you're not. You know that.
Yeah, you just made me remember something because so many clients will come and I have an interview coming, you know, can you tell me if I'm going to get the job? And I'm like, do you want the job? Then you'll get the job. You know, you just have to create it and know it. And you're creating all this doubt and asking me if you're going to get it. You're not going to get it. You need to just know that you will. You know, they're just what you were saying. You have to have
it's
that
all what
confidence.
it's what you project. You know, it's what you project. You know, when now, I once again getting back to your spiritual growth that I see, Now when you do the galleries, I know why people feel very comfortable with you. They feel like they're sitting in there with their cousin or a family member, okay?
That's true.
And you personify a gentleness that reaches into the people, reaches them and shakes them at their core. And that's a good thing that you have.
Thank
And
you.
you have that touch, okay? Not a lot of people have that. You know what I mean? You can talk to people till you're blue in the face, but you can reach them on a different level. You can reach them in a loving level, and they know it's coming from that position of love. All right? I see other people do things in other ways, do their healings and stuff in other ways. You know? I call in a lot of the troops to help me all the time. But I direct my God sense to make them better. But I also, as I'm doing that, I make them be able to know their God's presence within them. Because we're all connected. Listen, you think there's, you look at these people and they're getting all sorts of divisions put out, and the media's driving hatred between the races. They're driving so much of this stuff. And I mean, you can't go through 5 minutes of watching TV without like wanting to go out and get a gun, put it on your chin, and blow your brains out. Because nothing good happens in the world anymore.
That's what they say.
People. 8 billion people. You think that nothing good happens in this world? They don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that. All right? Stop believing that lying box. Okay? And for you news junkies, stay off the news for about a month and see how different your life is. You're not accepting their falsities as truth. Get away from that. Break away. Break free. Find your God sense. Become like Richie, like Jennifer, like myself and Sis. Become like that, where you can see the falsity in everything that's out there. You know? I could just look at people when I see them, whether they're in politics, and I know that, I know exactly what their line is. They signed on to the Kool-Aid.
That's a good way of putting it.
Well, they did.
I wanted to talk a little bit about what you were talking about, where if you're using just your brain, you go into fear and control and so forth, where if you surrender and then you come from love, right?
That's right.
Well, this is interesting because my chiropractor told me one day that when you do this, he calls your monkey mind, your brain,
Make sure you tell them that
the
your
devil.
chiropractor is clairvoyant. Tell them your chiropractor.
Oh yeah, he's clairvoyant, and he says that's the devil. He calls that the brain. That's the devil one. The little devil on the shoulder, little angel on the shoulder. And you know what? I think there's a good point there. And then when you merge with when all your bodies are balanced and you're merged with the Godhead, then you become more like this, where you're surrendered and you're one, and so you come from love. And so, but it's difficult to put that monkey mind aside, when you're thinking logically, because we live in this world, right?
Everything's 3D.
Yeah, and we gotta do human things, shop, work, clean, take care of our families and stuff like that. And sometimes it's hard to go around in that flow. But you can say, I tap into the flow of love and joy every day and try to stay balanced, because what I learned metaphysically in order to do that, and it probably happens naturally for people who come from the realization like this of things, but it's basically where you take those energy centers of your chakras and after they're cleansed greatly, then what you wind up doing is you wind up harmonizing them and integrating them so you become one. And then you have your center, where people who are in service to self, they're off center to service to self. You see, and people who are just too spiritual, they're off center too, because you have a spiritual side and a physical side. But when you merge them and you become one, your center is in the middle. You see, and there's a saying for that, walking the red road, where you're neutral. That's it's not a Hopi, I think that's the Native Americans who developed that. And
They were one with the land. They were one with nature. They were one with God.
yeah, and so,
Okay? They called them the Great Spirit.
Right.
Because they knew. They knew.
yeah, and they call, like, the Great Spirit, is above, they would say, and then Mother Earth, Mother God is the earth, okay? And well,
Mother
everything
God
is God.
sustains us. Father God dwells within us.
Yeah. I do a lot of work with shamanism also.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a really amazing ceremony to give back to Mother Earth, and it's so beautiful. And when you really connect with the earth, everything changes. It really does.
You know, I went to an expo years ago where I think we were doing war photography, and there was a man there who painted soul portraits and stuff, but his specialty was he wanted to paint your spirit guides. He painted an Indian, and I
I
was...
have a Native American.
Do
friend,
you?
yeah.
Well, I was
too.
regressed at one point, and I went in looking for lifetimes with my late husband, and he was, we were Indians, the Native Americans, and that was really something to see that. So that's probably why I had
That's why I
Indian
had the
guys.
connection with the land. That's why I'm always wanting to be out in the woods, always wanting
Yeah.
to be like near the ocean, someplace secluded, basically alone, you know, to be for that oneness, you know, to commune, just me and God, that's it. And that's a yearning of mine. I want to be out I want a place that's like, if I could be like out in the middle of a forest somewhere, I got a cabin, a good dog, a shotgun, and a whole mess of books, I'd be, goodbye.
You know, there's also something else, and I was just scanning. I hope you don't mind, you guys. But there's something called a gradient, okay? And that's when your vibration is up about here or so. And you can rise your vibration and your frequency up to merge with God or your higher self. And when you do that, you'll find that your gradient is risen, your vibration, frequency, and gradient. And some people manage to stay in it. Like I imagine you stay in it most of the time just naturally. But, you know, and anyway, when you raise your vibration, your frequency up to your gradient up here, you're in a much higher place of, because the lower you go, the denser your frequency is, the worse you get down to hell, let's call it. You know?
I use a prayer method, a hypnosis method, at nighttime to go to Thera, because once you're in Thera, you're connected to God. I thought you're in your God sense.
When you're connected to what, Tommy?
In Thera, it's one of the states like Beta. And,
Oh.
And Delta. or something.
Theta.
Thera. It's Theta.
Oh, yeah. Is that how you say it, Tara?
Thera.
I always
Thera.
said theta.
Huh?
I always said theta.
Me
but
too.
yeah.
I
it's-
say
I know
what you're
theta
saying,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
It could, listen, no
That's
matter
what
how
I
you
think it
say
is.
it, it's a
100%.
state, it's your God sense state,
100%.
Right.
okay? It's your superconscious
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
It's connected. And that's when I go in there, and that's where I do my prayers from. Because I don't want no, lower level and then doing that because it's not gonna reach where it's gotta go. You know, people say to me, because, Tom, I pray for this, I ask for this all the time, and all this stuff. I said, yeah, because how come I never get it? I told him, I said to him, well, first connect to God, and then do your prayers. I said, all you're doing is muttering words that somebody wrote a couple of thousand years ago,
Yes.
and they have no validity because you're not connecting to God.
Correct.
I can give you something to say to them, because this is something that I've been saying, and it really strikes people. I started with my mom. I said it to her, and it kind of shut her down. And once I shut her down, I knew I could shut down anyone.
Shut up, Mom!
So what did you do?
So the way to explain that, and especially, of course, if they're familiar with Catholicism and
Yeah,
Moses,
yeah, of
as
course,
we
of
were
course.
just talking about, right? So I always tell them that, God told Moses to build a boat. He didn't give him the boat, right?
You mean Noah?
Noah,
Yeah,
right.
Noah, yeah.
So I always use that because it, was what you're saying.
Well,
but I
Moses
keep
certainly could have
praying.
used the boat when
Right,
he went
Moses
across the
could've,
sea
right.
there and he parted it,
I know. So it's the same thing because they're always saying, I pray for this all the time. Why isn't it here?
I know.
Well, you're asking for it, and God will tell you, just like he told Noah, but he didn't give him the boat. He told him he had
told
to
him to
build the
build it.
boat, and he had to go out and build it. It wasn't handed to him.
It's a bit funny you should say that, because in the book of Enoch, okay, the angel of the Lord came down, I think it was, might have been, I'm not sure if it was Metatron or Gabriel. It was one of the angels, archangels, came down and told him to tell his cousin to hide, and that was Noah, to hide from everything, because they were going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right.
Okay, and that's exactly what he did. And then Noah, as you know, became basically the father of modern mankind because the animals 2x2. And I did say something, the ship is only 500-something feet long, and going by this, could you possibly fit 2 of everything in there? I believe that a lot of that was contained in like DNA vials.
Yeah,
to
genetics.
Make the genetics to make the
Genetics.
animals when all this is over. I'm
Right.
sure they had some for sustenance, they had some for milk and this, that, the other, and eggs, but I believe that the ark was a biological ark, that it had, these types of things. There was knowledge that was given to him and how to go with it from that point. Noah, after the boat came to rest on Mount Ararat, it's just been on TV again, says that they have found it, okay? The Turkish government will not allow them to go up there to excavate and stuff like that, but the ship is clearly there, and when they measured it, it was 509 feet long.
Huh,
Exactly the number of cubits that was said.
huh.
So they know they got it, okay? That proves the flood. Okay, it proves the flood. There's so many people said it wasn't a flood, but there's so many things, the structures, like, they said that the flood may have caused the separation of the Greek Isles from where Atlantis used to be. But there's no definitive proof that Atlantis was in that area, and if it was in that area, and it was in Bimini, you're talking about a place that's bigger, dwarfs America and South America together. So it would be a huge place. Is it possible? Yes. Could it have broken up and been swept that way by tectonics? Possibly.
Well, they can also judge that like by the water levels in different areas, like the Sphinx and mountains and things like that, where I don't know how they do it scientifically, but I do know they judge it, just with that type of thing with the flood. I mean, I believe it happened. I know the Earth's been mankind's been destroyed several times, and here we are on the precipice.
About to do it again.
No, we are on the precipice where many people are ascending even now, stage by stage by stage, until our bodies can adapt to that. And so we're going to win this time. So stay with us. Don't fall into the traps. There's so many traps out there. When you think about it, people get
call
more
them pitfalls.
right, but they're traps.
Listen, anything that puts you in bondage or keep you in bondage. Mankind has been in bondage since day one.
Or a
Okay,
mask.
and they're still in bondage today. Okay, we're held in bondage, and the recent proof of it was what happened over the last 2 years. How you were kept in bondage, but it backfired on them. Why? Because when families came together, because they couldn't go anywhere anyway. All right, guess what happened? They realized that they were family, and they started to come back to God. And that's still continuing to today. And they hate that. But every time they try to do something to knock you down, the field is leveled because they don't win. The war has been lost for them. This is the end of their time. Their 10,000-year reign is over. All right? What you're seeing is actually, we got 5 minutes, is actually, what do they call those things? The Matrix playing out. It's a hologram. War has been won, okay? Don't let them make you feel, okay? Don't look at things with your 5 emotions because they will betray you. If you can't smell it, see it, taste it, hear it, or feel it, it can't be true. Well, I'm here to tell you that is malarkey, all right? So you better learn that. Your senses betray you. These are the things that belong to the people that are in charge of this world. This 3D world, which is designed to keep you in bondage, and it has. Monetarily, physically, mentally, kept you in bondage. Time to break that chain. Be that junkyard dog that breaks the chain and gets away. Be who you're supposed to be. A child of God, learn it and know it. All right? And don't let anybody steal your joy. Your joy is knowing that you are a child of God. It is in your DNA. And nothing will change that.
Well, I think we probably don't have too much time left, so maybe we ought to ask our guest if they have any further words that they'd like to say.
Oh, I mean, I could talk for the next hour, so
Oh, I
I'm
know.
sure,
I
I have so
know.
many,
Richie's on for round 2.
I have so many topics I can talk about. One of the things that, that you were talking about, and I want to compliment you on how you speak to people after you get done doing a reading. And just a quick moment to talk about something about the difference. The difference between the physical side and the spiritual side. People often say, how do you quiet your thinking? How do you shut it all down? The first thing is to understand that, like I started when I was in my mid-40s, I had 44 years of empowering my brain as a superior intelligence in my human creation. Nobody ever told me there was a far better superior intelligence connected to my spirit. When I learned to become a student of myself, I became a better listener, and that quieted my brain down. I stopped trying to control life and dictate on how I wanted things to be, and accepted more of a role of being a student. And that's what you were saying you do. When you go to share information to people that are going to be meaningful to them, you ask for help and you get inspired.
All right, we're
You
gonna
become a
end this.
listener.
We're going to end this.
So I think that's something that all people should do. Just become
Yeah.
better listeners in life.
Yeah.
We are going to end this now. Time is over. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good
Music
night.
maestro.
Good night.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
That's
Happy
right, it's a
Thanksgiving.
week away. Happy
Be good to
Thanksgiving.
each other. Music.